Hi, my name's Helen Varley Jamieson, and today I'm talking to Kuo Hsin-Hui, whose work Dim is featured in the expanded media exhibition at the Stuttgart Filmwinter. Hello and welcome, Kuo. Let's start with when you made this work, Dim. Were you working on it during the lockdown, during the pandemic lockdown time? And is there any connection between the pandemic and the work?
Hello, Helen. Thank you for your invitation. And this work is actually made totally before the pandemic. And so the current situation is totally not in the consider. But interesting, there are some coincidentally connection, like we have to, my work in this work and some other of my work, they are about to put some sculptural thinking, like to touch and those thinking inside the image making, and like the physical aspect. So in this time, now we are totally have to rethink about how internet and the virtual connection bring to me. And I think that's the interesting part. And this work is about sleep. So I think there are many connections, like the standby mode or something.
We are all kind of in a standby mode, aren't we, with the lockdowns? And I think also this, when I look at this work, there is quite a voyeuristic quality, and I'm very much positioned outside and looking in on quite an intimate scene, which also I think because so many more people are working from home, we're working in our bedrooms and our living rooms and having these kind of portals into people's home situations. But what kind of feelings do you want to evoke in the viewer as they're looking in on this intimate scene?
Okay, if you let's say if you going into the physical space to see the exhibition, and maybe at the first you will see it from a distance. You will see a venetian blind, and you come closer to have the video, and this video is put it a little bit lower, and people have to bow a little bit to see it. I think it's a little bit awake of the how the physical touch, like your food, like all of our human beings daily, mostly we have to touch something physical, and also to make a connection to the sleeping people. I think it's more like some record, like the childhood experience when we are not afraid to touch and to see things in different angle. And yes.
This makes me wonder, do people actually touch the blind when they're coming and they have to bend down a little bit and look in? Have you noticed if people touch the blind, or they keep their hand away from it? Because there is that kind of invitation, isn't there, to peek through the bits of the blind?
Yes. I think I use the strategy in this work is a little bit opposite. Like it is also an invitation, but not an immersive, or you can control something to interact with the work. I think it let the viewer have some, let the viewer to let the viewer to think about the physical space, and to think both of them together.
Mm-hmm. Because we've got the screen of the iPad that the video is playing on, which is really tiny in relation to the window or the blind that is there. So it is like the attention is is taken away from the video in a way to the physicality of the blind.
I think so. I think they both are interacting with each other. Maybe it's also related to the title says about the dimension or something blurred. Like when we think about when we are sleeping, our body is still lying on the bed, but we are going into another world in mind. But how those two things interacting with each other, and if to say digital and physical, and in digital we can repeat in everything perfectly, but sometimes if the data fails, it will completely vanish, and our body is also kind of not mechanical. But in this work about for example, the repetition of the venetian blind and also the movement of, they are quite stable and kind of like a very rational process. But how? But inside our body, there are actually many, like something automatically goes. Like if you sleep, your eye will have REM movement, and your heartbeat you cannot control, but it goes from your birth to the end. How those things interacting with each other, and also especially in this pandemic time, touch and not touch, how to doing connections, and how to think about those things together, and how to experience it again. And
also the breath too. I mean, the heart is going all the time, the eyes are moving, and you're breathing, of course, also when you're sleeping, and this slow horizontal movement back and forth, to me it's like a slow breath of a deep sleep. This kind of
quite
movement.
interesting.
Yeah. So one other question that I have, which I was quite curious about, is that you have filmed the video looking through a blind, unless you did that afterwards as an effect. You see on the video there are the slats of the blind, and then you've cut the hole in the physical blind, so you're replacing that piece of the physical blind with the digital blind. Did you think about not filming it through the blind, but leaving the blind down so that, and not having a hole in the blind, so that the audience are looking through the actual blind?
Okay, that's the interesting question. Maybe to answer it, a little bit tricky.
It was a complicated question. Sorry.
Double.
Yeah.
Negative. Double. No.
Double negative. Yeah.
That means exception.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can answer it in this way.
Yeah.
But this work, it's about how to think about the dimension, and yes, I do it very a little bit complicated, but maybe I try to answer it simple.
Well, I think it's perhaps also playing with reality, because we have the virtual blind and the real blind, and where one stops, the other one begins, and could be there in another way, as you were saying before about the digital and the physical.
Yes, and we all have we are inside the room. We are like together to talk to each other in connection, but actually we are seeing the screen, and with our real body positioning in the real space. And yes.
Yeah, it's interesting because on some levels it's a very simple work, but then on other levels it's really quite complex. It's
yes,
not a question.
yes, I think so. some of my other works are more like, in this work I tried, I don't know why, but in this work maybe I am also in a transitional phase. Like I'm ready to go into another country to study, and I actually do the physical part and the digital shooting in two places, and how they connect to each other. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is also very much, I think, a work about borders. And I think you said something in the description of the work about this border between sleep and wake. But there's also the border of the screen and the blind and the hole that we're looking through. And you yourself are in this position of going across different borders. Did you intentionally want to look at borders when you're making this work?
Oh, okay. How to answer? Okay, maybe to say, I'm always interested in, for example, if you are in the experience of inside a car, there are actually like 6 different screens around you, and you are seeing, and people are suggested to see to the front. So we are in a linear movement to go into somewhere. But how those immersive frame between you and the world and your imagination, how the projection goes, and how maybe this one time, one place can be resynced in this context. That's something I'm always interested in.
That is really interesting, this thought about how we do view the world, and what, as we all look through our own frame at the world, how we see it. Thank you very much, Kuo. It's really interesting. And the exhibition will hopefully be opening once the lockdown allows it, and people will be able to go to the expanded media exhibition at the Stuttgart Filmwinter in Stuttgart and see the work. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Helen.